It's not for nothing that he's known as the Indian retail Czar. He's rewritten every rule in the book and has proven his critics wrong time and time again. Popularly known as KB, he's the man responsible for transforming the Indian retail landscape by giving us hit formats like Big Bazaar, Pantaloons, KB Fair Price, Central, and many more. His sheer perseverance and ability to take risks have made him a formidable force when one talks of Indian retail. But his journey has had its own share of setbacks and comebacks. I'm joined by the man of the hour and someone who's known to turn back time. That's none other than Kishore Biyani. Thank you so much, Mr. Biyani, for joining us today on ET Now and on My Story. I'm truly excited to recount your story in particular because what a phenomenal story and journey yours has been.
I think any story which goes through highs and lows becomes interesting stories.
I'm going to start by calling you the king of comebacks, but we'll come to that a little later. I want you to just sit back, relax, and it's going to be tough because you're a man who's constantly on the move and has also learned to become very detached. But I want you to sit back, relax, and go back to your very early years of childhood. So if I'm not mistaken, your family is from Rajasthan but moved to Bombay, and you grew up in Bombay?
Yeah, I'm third generation in Bombay. My children are fourth generation in Bombay. Not major roots in Rajasthan, but parents do go maybe once in a while. And I think we were a large joint family. Father was 6 brothers, we were 13 of us, and we lived together, we grown up together, we used to eat together. So I've seen human relationships and human dynamics at work at home.
But when you were growing up and when everybody thinks about what they want to do in their life, was it set in stone in your mind because your family was already in an established trading business that your route would be to join your family business, or did you have other dreams?
I had a very interesting career. When I was okay in studies, I never failed as such, but I never studied much. I was an outdoor person, but I always did something on the side of my regular studies. So I've done my CA entrance, I have done my weaving course, I have done export-import management, I learned a little bit of computers, and I learned typewriting.
Wow.
That time typewriting was a very interesting thing, and I learned writing letters. We had, I think letter writing was kind of a fad or fashion that time. And I think my family thought I can make good challans and I can type letters for the business. So I think that's where I came in.
And then what happened? You finished HR, but you didn't want to pursue further studies.
I did study. I did a marketing management course for a year, which was a diploma postgraduate course. And but I think marketing excited me. That time there used to be brands like Double Bull, Cliff, and so we were from the fabric trades, and I didn't want to join the family business because there were too many members in the family. And I thought I should do something on my own, so I developed some fabrics.
No, but you did not want to join your family business because there were too many members, but how was your family with it? Were they okay with it?
I think we were 13 of us. If nobody slept also came and slept at home also, nobody would notice. Okay. So I think I was one amongst many. And people didn't have much expectations from me. I was kind of a black sheep of the family. I was a non-conformist. I was an atheist by then.
And you were, were you publicly atheist? Or?
I used to talk about it, yes. Not publicly, but the family knew about it. Okay. And I used to question every kind of puja happening at home or every kind of things which were happening in the name of religion.
Sure.
I think the raising of question started then. And religion taught me a lot, how to dissect it, how to understand it, and why religion has been formed. I think that early days, probably when I look back, might have shaped up some thoughts of mine.
Right. So your family didn't think you would make it in life. They just thought you'd just pass along.
I think so. And I also never thought I can do anything much.
Are you serious?
I don't think so. I realized until I came into business that there is a sense of organization which I can create.
But you did join Bansi Silk.
I don't think so. I joined that company. I started making my own fabrics in my own way. I created one fabric out of some bottom wear fabric.
Okay.
And out of waste yarn, and that became a big hit.
Out of waste?
Out of waste yarn, and that became a big hit, very, very big hit. And that came out of some innovation and some ideas in how can we not create a particular weave. And I had learned weaving at that point of time.
Right.
So that fabric I created, and that became a big hit, and every brand wanted that fabric from me. And I could only produce it because nobody knew how to produce it because it was made out of waste yarn.
What was this called?
I don't remember it.
I think it was called
WBB as a brand it was.
WBB, white, brown.
White, blues and browns.
White, blue and brown,
But
right?
that fabric used to be called something else. I think I named it Mayfair if I'm not wrong.
So WBB started, giving this fabric to different brands.
Two different brands.
Okay.
And that's how I got in touch with the brands.
Okay.
And that's how I started then making another fabric called Stonewash.
Okay.
And that also became a very big hit.
Okay.
And that we started supplying to all the brands at that point of time.
Right.
And that got me understanding the garment business.
Tell me, how did you come into the Manswear Private Limited Company? How did that get?
I think my exposure to the garment industry got to me with Irwin Mills, and they were launching their denims, jeans fabric at that point of time. That was the first time in India somebody was making the denim fabric.
Okay.
And they wanted a distributor. And I thought with my connection with the garment industry, I should become the distributor. And I became the sole selling distributor of Arvind Denim at that point of time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I think that got me into the journey of dealing with the garment industry in a much larger way. I think it would be around 87.
Okay.
And then I started this menswear and the pantaloons as a brand. I thought I should launch my own trouser brand.
But before that, you were you were supplier to the retailers.
I was supplier to the garment industry.
Right? And you were doing very well.
I think I was doing
You were
very
doing well. So what was the trigger in you to become Pantaloons?
I think it was a progression. If you look at my history, when I look back, my exposure to the garment industry got me into the garment business. Then the Pantaloons came about, and then probably I created the Pantaloon shop, because then I was dealing with the men as a consumer. So they wanted shirts, they wanted jeans. So I created Bear Denim shirts. I created.
But were
John
there
Miller.
no other brands at that time?
Not much. Not many. I think trouser brand, there was none at that point of time. Maybe there was another brand called Zapata or something.
Okay.
Not many brands were there.
So you saw this as a real need in the market?
I think that time we were not so educated, nor we were aware of many things. I think ignorance is a virtue at times. Sometimes when you're too educated, you look at the market size, market. Yeah. Now we do things very differently. But that time ignorance was the, more ignorant you were, more passionate you were driving the business. That's how we started the Pantaloon shops.
The Pantaloon shops.
That was only a menswear store. After that, we thought, why should we deal with only men? We should deal with the family. And that's how the Pantaloons came about. That first one was in Calcutta.
So, can you, before I cut to the Pantaloon store, this journey from this just menswear to this transition, how long did it take you?
Not much. I think things were happening very fast.
Very fast. But where were you getting the money from?
I think we didn't, 7 lakh was the capital on which I started. I had a yarn business which was also doing well, and the fabric business was giving me money at that point of time. The supplier of fabric. My fabrics were a big hit.
So then you decided to morph into a all family apparel store.
Pantaloons.
And that happened in Calcutta, your first store opening.
Garyard, yes.
Now I believe that store was one of the biggest stores people had seen in that time.
It was kind of a big store. It was a marriage hall. And while going to the airport, I liked the property, and I told somebody who was my friend in Calcutta, I want this property. And he was able to meet the owners of that property, and he called them to Bombay. And they gave me a very interesting terms, which was a daily rent, which was unheard of, and which is unheard of today also. But that worked, and they are my closest friend now.
What were the internal changes that were happening within you, given that you have always been a non-conformist, given that your family thought you were a black sheep? You yourself have said that you didn't think that you were going to become very successful, but you saw success coming to you quite easily and quite fast at a rapid pace. So what were the internal transformations that were happening in you? Did you finally see a very strong streak of ambition in you, or were you always ambitious?
I think in hindsight, maybe I was ambitious always.
Really?
Maybe. Because I wanted to do things in always a grander way. So I think my Calcutta store launch, I took so many people from Bombay. I think we had a guest list of 4,000 people.
Oh, almost a
So
marriage.
I don't understand why I did. My first Pantaloon shop which I opened, I think my first year sales was around 12 lakhs and my advertising was 18 lakhs.
Okay.
So maybe there was something. I still think today also, we do deals like, we do big deals and big transactions.
What were the kind of, let's say, roadblocks that you were facing during this big expansion spree?
I think we had never, as a family, we had never borrowed money. We had small capital, small business. I think I remember once the family had 1 crore of sales and we celebrated it. We were a small business in a sense. So I was the first one to borrow money from bank, and probably the family was not at all used to borrowing. So there was always, and then the large family to take everybody along, having the same views was never so easy.
Right.
So some family members drifted out. They were not able to digest the risk which I was taking. And nobody thought I'll make it big, that's for sure.
So when you were not getting this, let's say, small gestures of encouragement, which are required to keep you going, did you at any time, question yourself in terms of what you're doing?
I think never.
Never.
Maybe I was a learner myself. I used to read books. I used to pick up a subject. I love to meet people, love to look at successful people, what made them successful. I think then the business started, the name came in. People wanted my franchise. People wanted our brand. My advertising was quite good. And people were willing to pay me money for anything. And then in 1992, I decided I want to go public. So I came up with the issuance of less than 4 crores or something.
But who were you talking to during these times? Who was you?
Jo mil raha tha, anybody. Anybody who is to be around us, anybody whom I can meet, friends.
But were these knowledgeable people?
I always used to be with the right people. I have made one thing in life, always be with positive people and always be with people who are more resourceful than you.
So this 4 crore going public, what was that? You just wanted to be a public listed company?
I thought that's the way of becoming bigger than what you are. Publicly listed company, coming to the market, having an ad. I think that was another thrill of life. That's maybe another stepping stone. Then I was on a road show once to Hong Kong.
Right.
And whomsoever I used to meet used to buy my stock immediately after my meeting. And my stock was running from one meeting to another meeting. I think that was the journey where I felt I've arrived.
Because you're just so successful and people picking up your stock.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And it used to happen meeting after meeting. I could feel it, he's going to buy my stock.
So, from your journey where you began to 1992 where you went public and you saw this happening, were there any major roadblocks?
I had a yarn factory and it was in partnership with 2 of my friends. And I had a factory lockout out there.
Okay.
And I had a loan to repay of around 3.5 crores.
Okay.
And it was between all 3 of our partners, not a large sum, but it all came on me.
Why?
It all came on me because I was the person in the front, I was running the place. And I think that time I was not able to sleep for some nights. Somehow I repaid the loan, settled that company, closed that factory and got out. I think that was my first learning of how to deal with adversity.
Okay.
And there was nobody else to support me.
Okay.
So I had to sell something here, something there. And how did I do it? I don't know, but I settled that issue.
Tell me about the germination of Big Bazaar, because you were in this, apparel business, branded business, and you were doing really well. And what happened? What were the rumblings in your mind that got you to thinking about getting into, this retail market for foods and groceries and all of that?
I think I had a thought long time back that one has to do a large store. I had some memories about Century departmental store at Prabhadevi somewhere, and I had seen my Marks and Spencer once. I had been to London.
Okay.
And I had some memories of how to create a market in India, a bigger market. And when we opened our pantaloons in Gharyat, we used to do sales twice a year, and we used to have queues outside our store.
Achha.
So I thought, why can't we have a store which has permanent queues, which is on permanent discount? And that's the idea of Big Bazaar which came along. How can we create a departments after departments?
But
every product
this
available.
idea, you were mulling on this idea for a while?
I was mulling on this idea for a while.
For a while. But this was also a time in India where it was an unknown concept.
I had not seen a hypermarket ever in my life.
Right.
So I didn't want to see a hypermarket because it would have influenced my decision making.
That's
So by design, I decided that we will create a market of India in an organized way.
Okay.
Inside a closed environment, air-conditioned environment. I remember my first Big Bazaar was made in Hyderabad in Abids. It was ready for a while. We didn't get permissions to open it, and it was getting frustrating. Then in the meantime, we opened 2 Big Bazaars. One was in Calcutta and one is Bangalore, and I think Hyderabad also came along. So that's how 3 Big Bazaars opened in 22 days altogether, and we had queues and queues outside our store.
During this phase, when the media, the industry at large was seeing something so different taking birth, what was the kind of phase you went through when you should, I mean, of course you got a lot of recognition, but also a lot of people wrote you off saying that this is not something that will sustain, am I correct?
I think in our journey also we had skeptics, starting early days, the family, people around you, then to people in the industry, then the clubs, what you call the so-called Bombay clubs and the other clubs. Nobody believes in you.
When you were creating Big Bazaar into this, this super hit format of how people would go to modern retail, what were your major learnings as an entrepreneur, and what were the major setbacks or obstacles that you had to overcome during that phase?
I think I had gone through a phase wherein whatever I was doing was right, and I thought, I made a mission for myself that we should now capture consumers' wallet. Our originally design was to do food, fashion and home.
Okay.
Then we thought we'll do financial services, we did salons, we did gyms, we did restaurants. I think we went into virtually a lot of businesses where the consumers were, and we thought everything will be successful. I think that was the biggest mistake I made. And a lot of things, then you are managing so many variables in your life, and things, there was a market meltdown, slowdown.
Yeah.
People's respect for you had diminished in a sense. And that's where I think we started feeling the heat, and being future group, thinking I thought if I don't sell one of my business, I don't want to get into trouble.
Sure.
And that's where the whole journey started of selling off businesses.
Right.
So I sold my financial services business, we sold off pantaloons, and we sold off many of our investments. But the movie, I think, taught me the biggest lesson of my life.
Which is?
When I made my first movie and it got released, I wrote to myself, don't get attached to whatever you create. It creates a halo of imaginary attractiveness, and that can result into something. I wrote this for myself, and I have followed that. I don't get attached to anything which I create now.
So you are now more dispassionate?
After the movie, yes. We create a lot now also, but I am not attached to anything. I can destroy anything. I believe destroying is also a part of creation, which we didn't think earlier.
Right. So you expanded into all kinds of categories, and then we hit 2008, which was bad for everybody overall globally. How was that phase for you?
1 year was stressful, quite stressful. And I had to deal with that adversity, and I remembered my very early days of my yarn business, which closed down.
Right.
And that got me going. Had I not gone through that yarn business adversity at that point of time, I would have not been able to handle this.
Right.
So this time I handled it. It was a little longish turbulence for maybe 5-6 months. But once we got out of it, I think we have come back with a vengeance.
Mr. Biyani, to get out of your heavy debts, you decided to be dispassionate and sell off pantaloons. I want to talk about that particular point of selling off pantaloons, because that was something you began with. Your journey began with...
Sonali, trust me, we have no emotions at all. In fact, Rakesh, who is younger to me, he had more emotions than me. I had no emotions at all. And it was a journey. I think selling off businesses is like creating businesses. So that's why it was very easy for us.
But then did you introspect and look back at...
Never. After that, we have never looked back again. We thought we have lost 1,600 crores of business. We need to build it. And that's what FBB got created. Central was languishing in a side. We were not doing much about it. I think it got all the attention now. Today, Central has become we were number 3 in terms of departmental stores. It was Lifestyle, Shoppers Stop or Central. We were the number 3. Now, I think we are number 1, back again. Even in the departmental store space, even in our discount store, Brand Factory is doing phenomenally well. Big Bazaar is at a different level. So I think Hometown has become quite profitable. So we have come back in a very much stronger way. I think when you give away something, you realize that the attention goes to the rest of the thing.
Mr. Biyani, I would like to call your innings until 2012 your first innings, and post 2012, Kishore Biyani 2.0, version 2.0. Would you say your first innings and second innings as a man, how you dealt with things, your own inner thinking, were they two different individuals?
Right, very different. I think it's the age also which catches up, the wisdom which comes in. I had no ability to say no until some years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I used to do everything. To saying no was very difficult. I can avoid something, but to say no, I had never learned the art of saying no. And I think I was never having that rigor of running a business until 4-5 years ago. So I think things have changed. The rigor in me is very different now.
Mr. Biyani, I know you, of course, you launched many businesses and then you decided to consolidate and focus on profitability in your second innings. But if I look at one of the businesses which I feel that you were truly passionate about, it was the movies, it was the cinema business. Not only does it give you, a lot of public recognition, it is also something that is close to all our hearts, just like cricket is.
No, I love cinema, but that doesn't mean after the movie, I decided I'll never make a movie.
Why is that?
But I think movie business is a very tough business because so many elements have to come together to get it right. In a business, you have to get 5 elements right. In a movie, you have to get hundreds of elements right. And nothing is in your control. It's a very difficult business. And there's no money in that business. The market size, once you are not ignorant, you realize the market size is so small. 8,000-9,000 crores. The product cost 60% is the artist who takes it away. What is there in your hand to control? Nothing. At a particular cost, you do a movie and so many people watch it. So the kind of reach which you get is fantastic. But the pain it gives you is also crazy when it flops.
Mr. Biyani, post 2012, you became the Future Group and you became very focused on what you all want to do. So it was fashion, it was food, and it was home, right? How did that come to you? Because as a man who is so used to expanding his wings,
I decided I need a mentor and I need a coach.
Okay.
Because I was not good at rigor and execution. And I had read the book Execution by Mr. Ramcharan.
Right.
And I connected with him and I told him to be my coach and mentor. And he trained me on how to do reviews, how to do meetings, how to execute. And that's where I think it helped me in terms of having a coach and getting answers to all he became my sounding board, and that probably helped me in doing business.
When did this happen?
I think 6-7 years ago.
You also, of course, recently bought Hypercity. What was the need for that acquisition?
I think consolidation in a business happens, and we think we are on the other side of consolidation. And it's a great asset. I've learned one thing along with somebody, that assets don't come easily, and you should never leave a good asset. And to build, it is a 1,300 crore business. For me to add up another 1,300 crores means I have to open another 20 stores. This is hastening up a process. And I think it's a good buy. Having done so earlier with Easy Day, Heritage, Nilgiris, we have learned about acquisitions, we have learned about mergers, we learned about how to take over a company. And I think it comes naturally now to us.
What have you learned about people?
A lot. So I used to look at people whether they are a giver or a taker.
Okay.
And I always counted me as a giver.
Okay.
And I used to judge everybody from a lens that whether they are a giver or a taker. And I love people who are givers rather than takers. That was one thing which I learned. Second thing which we learned about people is people need a dose of LSD to be happier in life, which is Lakshmi, Saraswati and Durga. Lakshmi is money people need, but people also need intellectual stimulation. And people need identity, and we have to give them some ego. Otherwise they will not survive. So I think this balancing model is something which has helped me a lot in dealing with people who work along with me.
You've got yourself your hands full with Hypercity, and you're also focusing on your small format stores with Easy Day. Tell me a little bit about why you want to get into the small format stores.
I think reaching, I have a dream that I should have a store within a radius of 1.5 to 2 kilometers of every Indian consumer who spends money. And that dream can only be done with a small store.
But why?
That's the last thing I want to do. And that's the biggest thing I want to do.
You're standing tall at 56, Mr. Biyani, with some ambitious projects at hand. What is your succession plan? Who is going to be the next Biyani?
I don't believe in succession.
What do you mean?
Another contrarian thought.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious about it.
So what happens after you?
I think the business has to run like an institution. We are shareholders.
That's it?
That's the way it should be.
So you're not grooming your daughters?
I don't think so. The business is like a jigsaw puzzle. It's a whole orchestra. One has to conductor has to be there. It's a very differently designed business. But I believe over a period of next 3-4 years, our whole dream is to make this into an institution which anybody can run. The Biyani family is getting trained to be an investor and be a good shareholder and running the business and managing the business in a very different way.
When do you plan to retire and become just a good shareholder?
I'm already a good shareholder. I think I'll take life as it comes, to be very honest. Till the time I think I am relevant or I can be relevant. What somebody tells me you are irrelevant.
Who can tell you that? You're the boss.
I think I have a lot of critics. I never have people who are only yes men around me. I think the best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come. Well, on that note, thank you so much for spending time with me and recounting your journey. It has truly been a phenomenal journey, and we wait for your best if it's yet to come. All the very best, Mr. Biyani, and many congratulations once again on your recent acquisition with Hyperspeed.
Thank you.